What up, everyone? So, we've got a review here today. With all the video game videos that I've been doing, got to get back to our usual review thing. Today we don't have a box, we have a collectible to review. And this video will be all about the review of the Nano Metalfigs. So, I just found out about these today, and I really liked them. I really liked them a lot, so I thought I'd share them with you guys, because I'm sure a lot of people haven't found out about them either. And you may recognize them because it's by the same company that makes these. And everyone's seen these ones. This came in a loot crate, and they're all over the place. And basically, they're just die-cast metal figures. And I like the concept of that. I like the idea of that, but I wasn't a big fan of these ones specifically. The reason I like these figures, for a few reasons. I was actually planning on doing a review of really old figures, and that's these ones. I got a little Spider-Man here, and they came in these packages. These are actually from the 90s. They did a bunch of different of these series. What these were exact replicas of the 90s action figures from all the Marvel characters. And you can see I got Gambit here because he's my favorite. And he looks exactly like his action figure. They were little scale models of all the action figures that we had as kids. So that's why I thought they were really cool. That, and they took out all the opposable parts, and they also stand really well on their own. Since they're die-cast metal, they're very well balanced, so they were very easy to display. And I actually went back and collected a bunch of these. They had X-Men ones, which were called Steel Mutants. The Spider-Man ones were called Web of Steel. And then the other Marvel characters were just called Heavy Metal Heroes. And they usually came in packs of 2, just like this. And if you didn't keep them in the package, you could take them out. And the cool thing about them is they really last a long time because they're metal, so it's kind of hard for them to get damaged. Unless, of course, they rub against other metal ones. But also, they came in this nice little display package. And they really weren't that expensive to go back and collect. Even though they're from over 20 years ago, they haven't really increased in value. So I thought they were really cool, and I was going to do a review of those. And then I saw these ones that were remarkably similar to them. They're just about half the size. But they're actually not limited to Marvel anymore. They have Marvel, they have DC, and they also had Harry Potter ones from what I saw. So those 3 of them. So it's basically just a smaller version of these. And you know, these are cool too, but the problem with these, I didn't really like the shape of them. They had very awkward shape because they, much like the loyal subjects, as you can tell in the back, they all have like really big arms, and they all kind of look like monkeys. Because they all have these really long, buff arms, and it was just very awkward, and I don't really like the scale of that. Loyal Subjects is the same thing with their figures. They have big heads and really long arms, and it just looks weird. So some of these ones were okay. I remember they did an Iron Man one that looked okay, but all the rest of the humanoid ones, they just didn't look that well. And they're like 10 bucks a piece. They're bigger. They're harder to display. They weren't bad by any means. I like the idea of it. I just didn't like the execution of it. But these smaller figures are perfectly to scale. So these ones aren't big heads or anything. They look just like their action figure counterparts. And yeah, they're perfectly in scale, and they all come on a little stand. The original ones that from the 90s actually didn't come on stands, and you can see by this Spider-Man, if you look at him up close, he doesn't look like he would stand very well, because all he has to stand on are these little tiny feet right here. That's all he's got. But yeah, but remarkably so, they stand very well. I could actually like drop him from a certain height, and he'll still just stand perfectly. Now, this may not seem like a big deal to most people that a figure is well balanced, but if you're like me and you're not playing with these, you're putting them on display, it actually does become a big deal after a while. Especially if you're doing like me and putting them on a wall. Balance is something you have to consider, because if they're not very well balanced, they're obviously not going to sit on a shelf, or they could very easily fall off. So with figures like this, I've never had anyone fall off. And you can even wiggle him around, and he's just so, because he's so heavy in the feet because he's metal, it's just very easy for him to balance. So they actually went through the trouble of putting these ones on little stands. Not really necessary per se, because like I said, they're very well balanced, but it was just nice of them to do, so this is even more balanced. You really can't knock this guy over. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. So they're, like I said, very similar to these figures, and they had a whole collection of them. So we will get into the review portion of this, and I'm actually adding an additional score. So usually when I review collectibles, I go by 3 scores: concept and design, paint, and sculpt. I'm actually adding a 4th category, which I've been trying to add a 4th one because I didn't think my scores were enough, and that 4th one is accessibility. And what that means. So basically what accessibility is, it's taking into consideration how easy things are to come by. It's taking into a lot of consideration things I always talked about in reviews, but didn't give a score to. One being the price. If something's crazy expensive and really overpriced, that's not easy to get. If something's cheap, it is easy to get. It also takes into consideration rarity. With Funko and things like that, like, are things like 1 of 12 when you get a whole case, you get the whole series? Or are they like loyal subjects where they're 1 of 96 at $14 a piece, where you'd have to spend thousands of dollars to get that one figure? If they're low in rarity, it's easy to get. If they're high in rarity, it's hard to get. And also, if they're mystery versus just showing you what they have, how easy is it to find the character you want? So that's going to be the fourth score, accessibility, which I'm adding to all the reviews now, because I do believe that is an important part. Because the actual dollar value doesn't really, you can't really change that because that's the price point they put it at, but it is something to consider whether it's worth it and how hard it's going to be if they're mystery figures, if they're charging too much, how hard it's going to be to collect the whole series. And this actually plays a very important role in this review, so you'll see why when I get to that. So, let's start this off. I wrote it down somewhere, and then I forgot where I put it. God damn it. Oh, here it is. Alrighty, so first off, we got our concept and design. For this, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Because I really like the idea of it. This is just me, by the way. Obviously, take into consideration your own thoughts and feelings, because not everyone likes the same things I do. That's why I review them the best I can, but I try not to do it on my own personal interests, but what I think other people will like. Me personally, you know, I like very small things. I like stationary figures. I don't like them opposable because I'm not playing with them. So these meet my needs perfectly. But I think other people would like it well too. As far as the design on them, the concept and design of the individual figures isn't crazy complicated by any means. They're pretty straightforward. And like I said, a lot of them copy action figures that already exist out there. So it's not that crazy of a concept. But I do like the fact that they actually go through the trouble to personalize each individual package. So each one here has its own design, and one of the really cool ones I got that they had was Hulkbuster. I love Hulkbuster. But yeah, each one has the actual character picture on there, so it's actually designed pretty well. And the fact that you can display it just like this, you have a full view of the figure, is really nice. So, and like I said, I do like the fact that they each have their little stand, and they're very well balanced, and they're really good size, so they fit perfectly on my shelves. So I like the fact that they're an appropriate size to collect many and display, but if not, if you just want to keep them in the package, that's there too. So, like I was saying, the concept and design isn't crazy good, but it definitely is good, but just on this side of good. So 6 out of 10 I think is an appropriate, because it's not mind-blowing or anything, but it's still very enjoyable, at least to me, and I think it would be to most of the people too. Next, the paint job. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10 as well, but the paint job is kind of all over the place. Now keep in mind, the paint jobs aren't perfect on these, but also keep in mind these are very small figures. So I'm rating it on a scale based on the size, because it may be off the lines a little bit, but only in relation to the figure. It's off by maybe a micrometer sometimes, and if a bigger figure were off by that much, no one would notice. But since they're so small, it is much harder to do, so it gets scored based on its size. And based on its size, I think they did very well. So like I was showing you up close on the Iron Man, like you can see his actual painted parts in there, they actually did a really good job. And there's actually some little black lining in there in some of the darker areas, and they did a decent amount of detail, which was very impressive. So that is really cool. The reason it doesn't get higher is because some of the figures look kind of rough. And basically, those were any of the human-looking ones and the ladies. So the women always look pretty rough when they get smaller because they just look fucking ugly. So, and yeah, they just, when they put human faces on things, it's much harder to paint versus like Iron Man. He has very defined lines on where things go. Like you can look at Black Widow here, and I looked through a lot of the figures and I always try to get the best paint job I can grab, and this is the best one. Like her skin is kind of painted off and it's just a little bit off here and there. So that's the downside to it. Not that big a deal considering it's so small, but it's still something to know. So that's why it didn't get higher, because Iron Man is painted perfectly. They did a great job, but some of the human characters, not so well. So that's why it kind of averages out to about a 6 out of 10. Next, the sculpt. I'm also giving a 6 out of 10 because, again, nothing amazing, but they did a good job. Even though it's very small parts, like you can see on Superman close-up here, they actually, I don't know how well the camera's going to focus, but you can actually see he's got facial features, he's got a nose and cheekbones, and he's got little hands. So everything is actually carved in there, and you can see all of his little muscles. And the actual S on his chest has some texture to it too. So they actually did a very decent job of sculpting this. So they did a good job. But again, nothing mind-blowing. It's not like spectacular, but they did it does show they did go through the trouble to actually design these figures. So I think a 6 out of 10 is merited. So that brings us to the final score, and that's accessibility. How easy these are to get. First of all, very easy to find the character you want because obviously these aren't mystery figures, it's right there. And they even give a list on the back of all the characters. So Marvel didn't have that many, I think it had like 12, but DC had a bunch. They have a whole list of them, so I'm not sure why they did so many more on DC. But DC, they have a couple different ones. Like they have the TV show Batman, like here he is here, with like Harley Quinn from the TV show. But they also did like Suicide Squad characters from the movie. And then they also did the Justice League. So those are the versions of that. For Marvel, they did Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, and Spider-Man. And I got pretty much all of them. There are a few that weren't there. I wanted to get all the Marvel ones. They have a Carnage one, which I couldn't find, but I'm trying to look for. But yeah, like I was saying, it's very easy to find which one you want. The only problem is, I don't think these are in all stores yet. I was looking for something else at Walmart. That's where I found these. But I only found these in one store. They had a bunch of them, but only one store had them. Walmart's so weird, by the way. All stores have different things. It's very weird. So I'm not sure. I think for now, they're just doing a test market is what I'm guessing. They're just putting it out in a few stores and seeing how it does. And then maybe later on, we'll see them everywhere. But that's to come. But very easy to get. So now the price. The price on these is what really intrigued me and what I really thought was a great deal. So like I said, these are great figures, well sculpted, well painted. You can pick exactly which one you want. The price of these is $1. Actually, not even $1. 97 cents. So when you take that into consideration, that is remarkably cheap. Like honestly, in this day and age, think what toys are you buying for $1? Not many, and the ones you are buying are probably cheap as hell and look really crappy. Like McDonald's toys cost more than $1. And those look like hell. These are actually very well done. They're metal. They're cool characters. They have well-designed boxes for less than $1. That's crazy good. And you don't have to go through the whole trouble of going through mystery packs, which again, I'm surprised they didn't do. I figure with something this cheap, they could have sold these in mystery boxes and charged like $5 for them. I probably still would have paid like at least 3 or 4 for these, so I'm kind of shocked they aren't charging more. This is the one time I'm surprised they aren't, because I really like them, and I would have paid more. That's why I got pretty much every one they offered, because they were only $1. You really don't waste any time or money. Just pick out the exact ones you want. So I got pretty much all the Marvel ones, which was Spider-Man, Black Suited Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, and then we got Hulk, Hulkbuster, Captain America, and then from Guardians of the Galaxy, we got everyone except Drax, and then I got basically the Justice League ones. And I wasn't too interested in the Harry Potter ones, because those all are human ones, and those look kind of rough in my opinion. So yeah, I really like those. So as far as accessibility, I'm honestly going to give it a 10 out of 10. They're very easy to find. Well, very easy to find a specific character. Keep in mind, it's a limited market as of now, but when they do a full release, which I'm sure they will because they're already led by a company that's already doing pretty decently, so very easy to find a specific character, no trouble there, very well displayed, very cheap, literally about as cheap as you get as far as collectibles. I don't see why I shouldn't get a perfect 10 out of 10. And there's no real rarity to them. You just literally grab the ones you want, and you have the option of putting them on display like this or keeping them in the package. So I was super excited when I saw them. I'm sure a lot of other people wouldn't be as excited because other people don't really care about miniatures that much. But if any of you liked these die-cast metal ones, I think you'll like these too. And I've talked to a lot of people and they agree that the shape on these ones was just very awkward and odd. They're still cool, really cool concept, and it was cool to have something metal. It just makes it feel valuable. It doesn't make that much of a difference, but it gives it some value. And the fact that these are metal and still only $1 is shocking. Like I've paid more, there was a series called Zerbos, which looked remarkably similar to these, with the stands and everything that were plastic, and even those were like $3 a piece for mystery ones. So I was really shocked at the price, and yeah, I haven't seen them anywhere other than that, but like I said, I think we'll see them more in the future. So, averaging all those scores together, 4 scores average out to a 7.0. And that's what I think is pretty appropriate. I was very excited, but I think other people would like them, but not necessarily go crazy for them. But the good thing is you can pick out the exact character you want and maybe just get one and try it out. Keep it in the package or just give it as a little stocking stuffer or put it in a little goodie bag for someone. At $1 a pop, why not? That's just so cheap and easy to find, and there really are some cool characters in here. And like I said, keep in mind some of the human faces look a little bit rough, but other than that, they're really fun. So yeah, so I wanted to get this video out and make sure everyone knows about it in case someone didn't know about this series. And if you are a fan of these ones, or if anyone knew about the classic 90s ones, you can go check these out too. And yeah, I thought it was a very fun series, and I liked having them. I got to figure out if I'm going to keep them in the package or not. I still haven't decided, because I want to take them out and put them on my shelves, but I really do like the packages they came in. Like, they went through the trouble of putting like actual designs on there, and some of these are original designs, like Rocket Raccoon. I've never seen this drawing of him anywhere. This little, is that focusing? This little animation of him, I guess. There we go. This little picture right here, I've never seen that anywhere, so I really like these little packages, so I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do yet. But yeah, anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts on them, if you like them or not, and what you'd like to see reviewed. I'm going to try and get back into the swing of things of doing individual box reviews. I know a lot of you requested that, so I'll try and make time for that as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of these. Let me know if there's anything you want to see reviewed or anything like that. In the meantime, thank you all for watching and appreciating. Love you all. Peace.